Oh, sorry. Hi, welcome. This is a conversation with friends, and I want to introduce you. Some of you may know them, my illustrious group here. My left, we have Karla Welch, who's a Los Angeles-based stylist and creative director. She's been declared as one of the most powerful stylists in Hollywood by The Hollywood Reporter and The New York Times. Karla's work on the red carpet includes working with clients such as Tracy Ellis Ross, Elizabeth Moss, Ruth Negga, Justin Bieber, Olivia Wilde, Amy Poehler, Little Big Town, Sarah Paulson, Felicity Jones, Pink, it goes on and on. Just to name a few. She's worked on special projects with Jennifer Lawrence, Lorde, Amber Valletta, and that list goes on and on. As a creative director, Karla's worked as a consultant on album packaging, editorial shoots, and music videos. She's designed pieces for Justin Bieber's Believe tour, as well as her ex-Karla collections with Hanes and Levi's. Karla's collaboration with Levi's, of which 100% of profits were raised, over $1 million for every town.
That's amazing.
Karla has also, in her personal life, is very philanthropic, and she ran the 2017 New York Marathon with Adidas and raised $30,000 for Planned Parenthood and the ACLU.
Amazing. I heard every second.
I'm going to talk a little bit later about the new initiative that my partner Carineh and I have started called RAD. Karla is a leader in the space of philanthropy and fashion, and she's come out as a leader with RAD, stands for Red Carpet Advocacy, and we're really grateful to her, and she will forever be #1 for us. So thank you.
Oh, thank you.
And Elizabeth Stewart, next to Karla, is a rock star, amazing stylist. She's a Los Angeles-based celebrity stylist and fashion editor. She spent 12 years working in the style department of the New York Times Magazine and 10 years with Women's Wear Daily and W. Getting her start in the Paris office. Elizabeth works with Kate Blanchett, Julia Roberts, Jessica Chastain, Gal Gadot, Viola Davis, Amanda Seyfried, Sandra Bullock, Rebel Wilson, to name a few. Very strong, amazing women. And for their red carpet appearances and brand collaborations. Her work has appeared in Harper's Bazaar, Vanity Fair, Interview, Marie Claire, Loma Vogue, on and on. She styled campaigns for Lancome, Revlon, Maybelline, Armani, Piaget, H. Stern, Tiffany & Co., and on and on. Very, very accomplished. Elizabeth is deeply philanthropic. She co-founded the Bag Lunch, a charitable fundraiser with fashion designers donating their bags to auction, and over 8 years raised over $1 million. And that benefited PS Arts, amazing foundation. Along with her client, Julia Roberts, they created recently a gifting suite for Make-A-Wish Foundation. And she also currently has a collection that she designed with Sergio Rossi, and 100% of proceeds go to the Time's Up Legal Defense Fund. Wow. And that collection is available now, right? At the Sergio Rossi store at the Westfield Century City Mall. Check it out. It's incredible. Next to her is my partner in RAD and good friend, Carineh Martin. She spent the past 2 decades working in the luxury sector across fashion, beauty, and entertainment, with pivotal positions at Prada, Dior, Estee Lauder, IDPR, and WME. She graduated from the University of Pennsylvania Annenberg School of Communications with a BA in Communications with concentrations on psychology and marketing from the Wharton School of Business. She joined the William Morris Agency as an agent trainee and was one of 2 women in a 50-men program. Carineh has spoken at the Harvard School of Business, and she's here to tell us about it. Carineh has spoken at Harvard School of Business and the Wharton School of Business, and she found
and at Frieze today.
And at Frieze, yeah. She founded a namesake luxury brand marketing consultancy in 2008, which is communications, branding, partnerships, driving sales, and achieving organic growth in strategic and innovative ways. In 2018, Carineh and I co-founded RAD and launched in 2019. Carineh.
Hey.
And last but certainly not least, Lara Bergthold.
One of these things is not like this.
Lara is a principal partner at Rally, and Rally is an issue-driven communications firm. Lara is a campaign and communication strategist with a wealth of experience in positions such as political and communicative strategist, philanthropic advisor, presidential senior advisor, and PAC director. Lara has developed and launched impactful campaigns for clients such as The Gap, Maria Shriver's The Shriver Report, Common Sense Media, Protect Democracy, CBS, Rock the Vote, and more. Lara received her master's degree in public policy from the Kennedy School of Government at Harvard. She served as National Deputy Director for John Kerry's presidential campaign in 2004. From 1989 to 1997, Lara worked with and ran the Hollywood Women's Political Committee, raising over $6 million for progressive candidates at the national level. From 1997 to 2018, Lara served as Executive Director of the Lear Family Foundation, Norman and Lynn Lear's private foundation. Lara provided strategic guidance for Time's Up last year, and Lara notably helped guide the Sandy Hook Promise, a nonprofit funded by parents who lost their children at the Sandy Hook shooting. Welcome. So the topic of this panel is red carpet advocacy and cultural relevance in 2019. This, Carineh and I together have launched an initiative called RAD, which is putting brands and talent together for philanthropy. This really came to be as a byproduct of, for me personally, of wanting to feel sustainable in an industry where it's about consumerism. And I just, consumerism as well in fashion, as well as storytelling and entertainment and all the beautiful facets. But for me personally, I felt that I didn't have the means to write a meaningful check to change policy, and also the time, unfortunately, given my crazy schedule, like everyone's here, getting on planes all the time, to follow through with my time, a meaningful commitment with a charitable organization. So we launched on the red carpet at the Golden Globes with Karla Welch partnering, and thank you, Karla, for that.
My pleasure.
With Elizabeth Moss. Elizabeth Moss, everything she wore was the designers from her jewelry, Neil Lane, to her shoes, Tamara Mellon, to her Dior dress, her Roger Vivier bag, everything. All the designers either made a donation or tagged and advocated for Elizabeth's charity, the ACLU. So our goal is to help. We saw a year ago at the Golden Globes on the carpet how the conversation was changed with Time's Up. And we're so inspired about how we can use all those eyeballs on the red carpet to talk about things that matter for good and inspire the fans. And we believe that giving is glamorous. And that is really our mission. And this has inspired this panel with all these incredible women. So I wanted to start by asking, do you think, I'll ask you, Karla, do you think there's a correlation between the two, between red carpet advocacy and cultural relevance?
I think there can be, and I think that there will be, and I think it's going to be really, really hard right now. But anytime the paradigm changes, it's hard, and there's reactions to it, and that's why what you guys are doing and what we're doing from using our leverage and our resources will eventually create change. I mean, years ago when Celine Dion went to the Oscars and she wore those sunglasses, they made $1 million donation to the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation of Canada. But nobody really knew about it. But we're in this different world with our platforms. It's almost like ETV doesn't really matter. I mean, it's enjoyable, but what really matters is the language of Instagram and of Twitter and what gets out there. So it's hard because there's a lot of money involved in it. And I love beautiful things as well, but I have very similar feelings as you, where it's like, what is the meaning in this? Like, we're in a very interesting time in society where we're in a great period of fatigue, I think, from all our resistance. And so that's why I was so interested in joining this, because there has to be greater value in than just something beautiful. And so, but it's interesting because I don't begrudge anybody who just wants to like look great for a night, because it's also important to celebrate the arts and to celebrate getting there. So I think the more thing, and it's also using leverage, because companies out there are in a real runaway train. You know, Matches knows, J. Crew knows, The Gap knows. Retail has completely changed, and the power of consumerism has changed. And companies that are very smart are getting on the proper side of history and advocacy, and realizing that there can be a tie-in between the two. They don't have to be exclusive. Nobody has to lose money. Companies who are smart are going to jump on to being like, okay, in addition, we're going to do that. So I think that's where the power can be, and that's where the change will ultimately come from.
And Lara, on the nonprofit side, how do you think that this, what do you think about red carpet advocacy and cultural relevance, and just in terms from the nonprofit lens?
Well, I mean, a nonprofit can talk about their work, and they have an audience, and that audience is somewhat limited to the sources of which they see it. And then there's something like the Oscars to stand up for something, and the impact of that was huge, and would not have happened without some kind of access like that. And it's not just red carpets, but it's all the events that happen every day, where press are invited, and you want to be there to talk about the product and that piece, but connecting to
Life personally and professionally. And what role does it play in your world?
It plays a big role. I think that all of us here realize that we have a platform and we should use it. I think about it a lot because I think it has to be very organic, which is the Time's Up example is a really good example to me. I think people are watching the Oscars because they want to see the dresses, but that was actually the Globes when they all wore black. But it was a very natural tie-in, because the whole Time's Up movement started with the Harvey Weinstein thing, and the people most affected were people in the entertainment industry, so it really made a lot of social change in a different way than myself, because I actually think my followers follow me more for Julia Roberts. And I'm just being honest.
I can't blame that.
So it's just, we're going to approach what we do in a different way, and I think that was the perfect choice for you, and
Yeah, and I think the thing that was what I'll say about the Time's Up carpet, stand with you. And that letter I was in the Time's Up room, and it was read to us. There wasn't a dry eye in the house. How incredible that the women farm workers were talking about standing with the women of Hollywood. The Golden Globes is what was so inspiring, and also actresses coming together and joining hands instead of being like, a singular experience of your nomination. It was and bringing activists on the carpet was phenomenal. So.
I just want to finish one thought about the doing what we can in an organic way, and we've both been doing this too, which is sustainability in fashion. The fashion industry is responsible for a huge amount of waste. I mean, I think everyone's been following that, and I think it makes a lot of sense, and it's very organic if we promote the idea of sustainability in fashion. For example, when Cate Blanchett opened Cannes last year, she re-wore her Golden Globes dress from 2014. That was to make a really big point, because she obviously had the world at her fingertips for what she would wear, that you should cherish your clothes, you should not throw them away, there's no reason not to re-wear them, and I think that's something that we could really do. That makes a lot of sense, and just sort of works.
Let's do more of that.
I agree.
Let's do more.
I'm with you. So, Carineh, Rad celebrities, Rad celebrates the platforms we all have, right? As individuals, as artists, as brands, as industries, and as communities of influence. What do you think our platforms are? looking out in this room in general? What our platforms are, and do you believe? I know you believe. How do you think people can use their platforms for advocacy?
You know, everybody has a platform. I mean, whether you have a small audience, a small community, or a large one, every single person has a platform, and that is exactly what RAD is about. It's about inspiring people to use their platforms in whatever way feels organic, in whatever way feels right, to reach as many people as possible. We happen to focus on people and brands that have larger platforms only because those are going to reach larger audiences, and we're trying to create significant impact for nonprofits and awareness and money and all of it. But for us, it's about the public. It's about inspiring each other to share, to volunteer, to learn, to post, or whatever it is, because that's what moves the needle for nonprofits. Lara can speak to that really clearly. So I think everybody has a platform, and it's just a matter of how do you leverage it in a way that is authentic to who you are and also makes you feel good about your contribution to society.
Well said. I'll be your partner. Lara, what kind of advocacy do you see in creating the most impact for nonprofits?
Well, I think there's visibility, just knowing something about a project or a nonprofit and the work that it's doing. I would say for every town, the work that they've been doing to talk about domestic violence and the connection to gun violence. Just the education of that is really important. And then when there's an ability to also raise money off of that platform, that's, ultimately what they need to do to be able to scale their work more. But when you match the two audiences of advocacy and fashion, you're expanding the audience for both the advocacy group and the fashion brand, for whom they may be reaching people that they don't normally reach, that don't follow Dior, that don't follow, but may want to follow it now because they know that they have a sort of stake in the game on an issue that they care about. So I think it has value for both sides. And I think it's just really education and potential access to funds.
Just this last Grammys, we worked with Karla and Camila Cabello, who chose to use her platform to advocate for Save the Children. That's really meaningful to her. And just between Camila's fans and Armani's fans, it was almost 45 million people who were exposed to that message. I mean, that is significant for even a huge organization like Save the Children. They were so grateful. And it doesn't take much.
No, I was
it
just
was
going to
so
say,
easy.
it's not hard at all. I was like, hey, do you want to do this? Sure. What's your charity? There.
Yeah.
I texted you. And then we're like, okay, we're ready. That was it.
Armani was so great about coming on board because they are a leader. They kind of started the red carpet game, and the fact that they stood up in this way and to support, we really believe that it's a way to deepen a relationship with talent and to deepen a relationship with the fans, to stand for something that everyone believes in. And when the talent is advocating for a charity they believe in, there's an emotional component that is authentic. And it was super, super exciting. And the swipe up, so you can, all this technology that we can use for good, swiping up that takes you straight to the site for information or donation, whether it's $1, it's just about feeling part of a community. And I think that
and not over asking too, right? When you said you could do $1, like Obama got elected for those $10 donations. So there's power in involving everyone and in being inclusive, because in so many ways we're so close to people who are because of social media. And it's like there's good bit to have mystery, but there's also something amazing about involving people. Thinking, oh, I can do that.
Yeah, and I think we can create a philanthropic community, and with fashion, a philanthropic community. It's very, people, we have a tradition of being very private about our money. I mean, women, and that's a big issue about women talking about money. And of course, everybody has their own way, but there's something so empowering when we share with each other about our beliefs and how to make the world a better place. So I believe that from a very, very deep place.
Men also feel good about that, too.
Yes. Sorry, yes. Elizabeth, how can celebrities use their platforms in the most effective way for nonprofits, do you think?
Well, I think exactly what I've been saying, using whatever people are looking at them for. Just going back to Kate, we've continued. We didn't just make the one statement. We are now, and all my clients have agreed to do this. Everyone is re-wearing. The question.
That's wonderful.
I feel like we have to publicize it a little better, though, to
Yeah.
really make the point. But I do realize that that's why we're all just keeping at it, because then it's going to just sort of sink into the fabric of. And getting
Literally.
literally sink into the fabric. And if we can start, this is the other thing we can do as stylists, because I'm always obsessed with how can I make a difference. And I know that I have this sort of very particular niche. So if
That's
we
how
can
you're
get
read.
people to, what's your favorite color? What's your charity? If we can just put that into, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
The
everybody's
conversation.
got one.
Yeah.
Like we can just put it out there. Everybody has their cause.
Yeah, what do you
and this
believe
is
in?
why.
What do you believe in? What do you stand for?
Exactly.
Absolutely. Some people, I'm going to just ask the group, some people think red carpets should really just be for glitz and glamour. Do you think there's a place in general on, like, I think we are in agreement about this, about how we can keep it glamorous, keep philanthropy and advocacy glamorous, because there is that perception of, like, I know it was really popular before whenever actors would come up and win an award and be, oh God, political speech. For me personally, I was always looking forward to it because I want to hear what someone stands for. So do you think that detracts from the evening or the glamour?
No, because it's your right. That's what I say. I think everybody is political. If you pay taxes, if you breathe this air, you have like rights to say whatever you want. And I think it's wonderful. Those are the best speeches. Somebody who has something to say something, don't quit
if they're
thanking your
true to
agent
themselves.
and your publicist and all those. You thank them every day.
If they're true to themselves.
Yeah, if they're
Some
true,
people,
you have to be
it's not-
authentic.
you have to be authentic. I think that's a huge part of it. It doesn't work for me if you're not being authentic. If you are clearly just paid to tag ACLU,
Yeah.
but it's like for Elizabeth Moss, it makes perfect sense in everything she does in her life. And so I think
For sure, but that's the
the
key with
political speeches, it depends on who it is.
Yeah, and authenticity is the key for everything. Like, brands won't succeed with an ambassador who doesn't make sense for them. You can see it all on Instagram ad. It's like, ugh, doesn't make sense.
Speaking of brands, in today's world, how do fashion brands achieve cultural relevance? They say product's king, but is that enough?
Well, we've seen some examples where brands have taken, sort of done ads or something which has made them famous for the wrong reasons. I'm trying to be political here, but
It's been happening. It's been happening.
where
Cultural
Sure.
insensitivity.
a lot of cultural insensitivities that have made them talked about in a way that's not positive to the brand. And so I do think they have to be more thoughtful about the audience that they're reaching, because the audience is bigger and broader and is paying attention to those kinds of things in a different way. And as I said, I think we know from a lot of research that the younger audience really does look at a brand and say, do you reflect my values?
Yep.
And the only way you know that is if the brand starts to talk about values.
And that's something that you do. You help brands communicate that message, correct?
We do. And there are more and more corporate entities that are looking to try to step out and be, and sometimes pretty far out, Patagonia and others who are saying, we're going to change the conversation about this president. Some who are in a sort of slightly different way, but look at Nike, who featured Colin Kaepernick in their ad, who was at the time sort of still very controversial figure, and it drove their ad sales through the roof because people said, this is a brand that reflects my values. I took my son, he's wearing Nike today, to the Nike store to buy stuff because it was like, I want to value that brand for speaking for me and what I believe in and what my family believes in. We didn't go to Adidas, we went to Nike.
Yeah.
I'm looking for Adidas to do something really great, and that will go, but you want to put your money where your mouth is in that way.
And I think that we particularly, Carineh and I, with RAD, are speaking to the luxury. We feel that the mass brands are more on this tip, and we really are partnering and coming out with luxury brands. Carineh, maybe you can speak to that about just the lens of the luxury market.
Yeah, I mean, luxury dominates the red carpets of the major award shows, which have the largest audiences. So that's why we've chosen to come out with we also happened to launch in January, and it was the beginning of award season. So, there's that's the connection to luxury. It's also our background and, where we happen to have the most relationships. But, I think Gucci is a really great example of all of this because they have phenomenal product, but they are also organically and authentically deeply philanthropic and cause-minded, and they are very vocal about that. And they're also killing it commercially. I mean, they're doing really well financially, and I don't think that's a coincidence. I think that it's a direct correlation. Their advocacy is culturally relevant, and it is contributing to their success.
Well, also, I mean, we see in the news, we can't ignore it, it's the elephant in the room, what has just recently happened with cultural insensitivity, even with Gucci, and they have, Marco Bizzarri, the CEO, went to Harlem this week and met with Dapper Dan and are creating an integrative program to be more culturally sensitive. So you can see how a company that's already very philanthropic, how the amount of advocacy and cultural sensitivity is important, and these brands are global. So, it's not, the brand may be based out of Italy, but it's, as we know, a global brand. Yeah. What has been the reaction from your family and friends, your clients, your fans and followers to your advocacy? And when has it been the strongest in either direction? Karla, do you want to speak to that?
Well, I think my mother probably gets a little annoyed with all my advocacy.
You got to check out Karla's Instagram.
I mean, mine's been really a positive thing because it's true to who I am. If you follow me on my Instagram, I am who I am. And I would say it's actually been incredibly good for business. Would I rather not have Donald Trump for a president? 100%. I'd rather business be worse. But that's my choice. That's where that's my skill set. That's what I can do. I can use my leverage. I can use my voice, and I don't really care what but I've made choices not to work with particular companies because I don't believe in them. And if it costs me money,
do you pay attention to what's on the rack when you're dressing your clients, Elizabeth and Karla? Do you pay attention to what brands you're dressing your clients in terms of?
Yeah, I wouldn't call in a brand that I have a problem with.
I think that that's really admirable, and I think that that is unusual. So I applaud you for that. Yeah. I feel the same. I do the same. Yeah. So,
I think we're very like-minded in this world.
Elizabeth, how has your world reacted to your philanthropy? You've been philanthropic for so long.
Forever.
And it seems like a seamless part of what you do and who you are.
Yes. At a micro level, I love how all my friends have supported the bag lunch for so many years.
Yeah,
I mean,
amazing.
you too. So I do love how it just weaves into the fabric of my life, and my kids have always come and helped out at the bag lunch, and my daughter's at Berkeley now, and she's getting involved in all sorts of causes on her own, and so that's great. And I love also how my clients are fully behind this eco thing, and just bringing the big brands back in. The other thing we have to stay on them for, and this is really important, is changing their practices in terms of sustainability, because that's really important and something that they can really do, and they all have absolutely got to change.
We've seen that change with people taking a stand against fur, big luxury houses, which is really, I don't think 10 years ago people will have seen that coming.
And for Kors to do it, the money they make from Asian customers and fur is like huge, and for them to say it was pretty substantial.
Are there any questions? Do we have any questions from the audience? Yep.
I just want to go back to the sustainability story. I was lucky enough to be involved in producing a documentary called The True Cost, which helped start some of this conversation or push it forward a little bit. I'm curious to know what has been the reaction on the designer front from you guys as stylists, how receptive they were a few years ago, and kind of how that change has gone to where it's at now.
I think they're receptive,
Yeah.
but in terms of actual practice, it's hard to say. I mean, like, for diamonds, for example, we always say, are these ethically sourced? And I was like, yeah. But then it's like, you really have to do the
You
work
have to do the work.
figure out, okay, so how are they ethically sourced and, right?
Yeah.
Marked out. And so,
Any stone. Which
Any
people like
stone.
sometimes, and I think that's another story you and I can tell, and a stylist can tell, which you're doing it with the clothes, and I'll like post like, this is my favorite jacket that I've worn for 15 years, but it's also like, stones come from the earth. Like, the more you can educate your followers, and I think both of our group of followers love knowing like what goes into how something made. Where is that coming from? The more you know, then the more you're going to be receptive to a little bit of change too. And I love that documentary. It's amazing and heartbreaking.
Any other questions? Yeah.
Well, I just wanted to say thank you so much because at my school I'm involved in a project called the PAD Project, and it's like also like a document. Yeah. Charlotte and my friend. Like we made a documentary as well, and just like seeing that like what you do connects like nonprofits and celebrities to like get the word out is really honorable and great.
Is it the PAD
Target
project
audience
for?
right there.
It's a short film and it's up for an Oscar.
Wow.
But is it about?
These girls from school all produced and helped fund this from Oakwood, right? They went to India and they met with these little girls and they created a pad machine.
That's amazing. That's what I was getting to. Is it about like the menstrual syndrome? Like,
You know more about it. I mean, go ahead. Tell them what it's about.
Tell us the name of the film, and it's Oscar nominated.
Yeah, it's
Short.
called Period End of Sentence. So basically, a lot of people don't know about it, but when women and girls get their period, it's really hard for them to get pads or tampons, and a lot of or around the world,
around downtown LA.
even in America. So what my school did a little bit like before my time, but they fundraised for a pad machine to be installed in India, 40 miles outside of Delhi. And they installed about 4 pad machines. One of them's in Afghanistan, and then the others are in India. But families will choose to buy milk for their family for a week, or pads, and a lot of the time they choose milk. So women and girls tend to drop out of school because they have to go so far to remove their cloths that they use, and they're not very sanitary. So this pad machine is a partnership from our school to wherever the pad machine is, and the documentary features a pad machine in India, and the women are running it. It's a business, and they're making money, and they're changing the stigma of women not being able to work and provide for their family. So it's like a win-win in every scenario.
Are you going to the Oscar?
If you can get her a ticket.
We'll get her a dress. If you get your own ticket, you should hit us up.
Recycled dress.
Okay, perfect. I like that.
I'm dressing Charlotte.
Maybe one more question. Yeah.
Just want to thank you ladies for doing what you do for your advocacy. I'm actually a designer. I do evening wear, and one of the things I really focus on is creating a ability for a woman to rewear the garment by having that same garment be wearable in 5, 6 different ways. So they don't have to feel like, I'm going to be seen in this again. When they have the opportunity to wear it again, but in a way that is new and different, they don't feel bad about it. They feel proud. So
That's awesome.
thank you.
Good. Great. That's great.
So lastly, I just want to thank Matches Fashion for being so righteous and so rad, for inviting us for this panel. In addition, thank you, Matches Fashion. Matches has put their money where their mouth is, and they have invited Karla and Elizabeth to do 2 curations on the Matches Fashion site, both of which will benefit. Karla's benefiting the
Trevor
Project, and Elizabeth's benefiting the ACLU. 100% of profits will be donated to both charities, plus it'll be seeded by Matches. And we are just so impressed with their rad pledge and for supporting philanthropy in fashion and advocacy in fashion. And that curation will be available at the end of April ahead of the Met Ball and Cannes. So we hope you will check out Matches and look for their red carpet curation and edit. And thank you guys so much for taking time in the middle of award season. Thank you.